London, February 3rd, 2026. In a stunning turn of events that has sent shockwaves through the corridors of power, Buckingham Palace has confirmed that Archie and Lilette have been formally removed from Meghan Markle's custodial oversight. The move follows the delivery of a sealed legal brief at dawn to Windsor Castle, a revelation obtained exclusively from a source deeply embedded within the Royal Child Welfare Office. Tonight, the British monarchy faces a crisis unprecedented in modern times, with both children now under the direct protection of the Crown. The chain of events began quietly, but with potentially explosive consequences. On January 31st, Meghan Markle withdrew Archie, age 7, and Lilette, age 5, from their private Santa Barbara schools. She did so without notifying the UK liaison team, the school administration, or even the children's court-appointed mediator. Worse, she vanished entirely afterward. A California school administrator, noticing the abrupt withdrawal, flagged with the subject line, "No show," raised immediate concern, but no answers were forthcoming. Neither Archie nor Lilette had been enrolled for the spring term. Meghan failed to provide any forwarding school information or a clear plan for their education. Sources inside Windsor Castle confirm that on February 2nd, Princess Anne convened an unscheduled crisis summit carrying a single powerful item, a bright red folder labelled "Immediate Custodial Breach, Markle Withdrawal." Witnesses recount her slamming it down in front of King Charles, declaring, "We've tolerated image games for years, but this is different. She's not just walking away from duty, she's walking away from these children." Inside the folder, shocking details emerged. Meghan had cancelled private paediatric care appointments for both children, while issuing standing directives for her legal team to block all communication from royal education and welfare officials. She had dissolved a £6.3 million fund set aside for Archie and Lilette's UK education. Perhaps most explosive, however, was a January 29th intelligence memo, marked privileged and confidential. The Royal Intelligence Advisory Group confirmed that Meghan had spent the past 4 months meticulously planning what insiders now call complete maternal disassociation, a step that, according to palace experts, represents the most extreme form of parental disengagement witnessed in modern royal history. Key evidence included a non-disclosure agreement between Meghan and a Dubai-based media financier, demanding the erasure of all prior familial ties before launching her solo brand. Redacted memos from her legal team revealed a refusal to participate in Prince Harry's proposed joint custody agreement. Internal contracts directed all teams to remove references to Archie and Lilette from Spotify and Netflix marketing campaigns by Q2 2026. Royal legal advisors characterized these actions as deliberate custodial abandonment. This was not co-parenting, this was the systematic erasure of identity. A palace official told reporters that Princess Anne acted immediately. She authorised Duchess Sophie of Edinburgh to implement the emergency custodial safeguard protocol, opening a formal case file documenting Meghan's parental disengagement. This file was sent to both the Royal Chancery Court in the UK and California's Family Court under joint jurisdiction. Later that afternoon, Prince William dramatically left an economic summit in Manchester to rush to Windsor Castle. Handed the same red folder, he reportedly read the final page, then looked up and said, "This isn't about Meghan anymore. This is about the survival of 2 children, emotionally, legally, and historically." That night, William and Princess Anne ordered a full crisis briefing for the Royal Advisory Council the following morning. Their mission: strip Meghan Markle of all custodial access, physical, legal, and symbolic, over the children of the Windsor bloodline. For the first time in the history of the modern monarchy, the Crown prepared to invoke structural guardianship over minors, not as punishment, but as a safeguard to prevent 2 royal children from being lost to the public eye, or worse, commercial exploitation. At dawn on February 3rd, the plan went into effect. Prince William, escorted by Lord Hargrave and Duchess Sophie, arrived at the Royal Legal Chamber. Behind closed doors, they presented a Level 1 emergency custodial crisis brief, citing 4 core pillars of Meghan's calculated abandonment. total withdrawal from parental educational and medical responsibilities, secret plans to flee to non-Hague countries, including real estate negotiations in Doha and the Seychelles, media erasure campaigns designed to remove Windsor associations from the children's public identity, Harry's instability, currently on probation with no housing or income suitable for sole guardianship. At 10:20 a.m., Prince William invoked Appendix 4 of the Royal Succession Stabilisation Act, a clause dormant since King Edward VII's abdication. This statute allows the Crown to assume guardianship over royal minors when at risk of erasure or displacement. The Council voted unanimously. The consequences sent irreversible shockwaves through Meghan's inner circle, while the children were immediately placed under institutional protection. Step 1. Passport freeze. Archie and Lilette's international travel rights were suspended. No child could leave the UK without dual authorisation from the Princess Royal and the Crown's Child Welfare Council. Step 2. Commercial freeze. All use of the children's names, likenesses, or Royal Sussex branding was frozen for 5 years under the Windsor Privacy Act of 2023. Step 3. Royal Restoration Fund. Prince William launched a £12 million trust to fund emotional recovery, private education, and reintegration care for both children. This was more than a statement. It was dynastic firewalling, designed to shield the children from exploitation, legal confusion, and identity erasure. The spark that ignited this unprecedented response, Meghan's quiet withdrawal of the children from their California school without explanation. The British royal household's internal crisis unit responded within hours, invoking the dormant Royal Guardianship Protocol, a centuries-old mechanism allowing the Crown to assert custodial oversight when royal offspring are at risk. Princess Anne, acting on behalf of the Crown's Child Welfare Committee, convened an emergency meeting at Sandringham. Present were senior palace legal advisers, Prince William, and a rare virtual appearance by Lord Alastair Pembroke of the Privy Council. The agenda: ensure the mental and emotional well-being of the children, establish legal jurisdiction over their future, and protect the Windsor lineage from both media exploitation and personal harm. According to insiders, Meghan's move was part of a larger media repositioning campaign. A docuseries portraying her solo parenting struggles had quietly been pitched to a Middle Eastern production company. The children were to be repositioned not as heirs to the throne, but as brand mascots. Yet the monarchy had anticipated this threat. On January 31st, a sealed dossier prepared by Prince William and verified by Royal Treasury officials was submitted to the Privy Council. It included a full audit of Meghan's monetisation attempts using the children's names and faces, legal correspondence showing attempts to register Archie and Lilette as trademarks across multiple jurisdictions, and metadata from PR firms linked to celebrity gifting suites, confirming upcoming branded baby products allegedly inspired by Princess Diana. That same evening, Princess Anne issued a public statement. The House of Windsor will not tolerate unauthorised commercial exploitation of children born into this institution, especially when it jeopardises their safety and constitutional position. Banking regulators in the UK and Canada immediately froze accounts tied to the male holding structure, a shell company Meghan had allegedly established using the initials of Meghan, Archie, Lilette, and E, with rumoured outside investors. Within 24 hours, sponsorship agreements tied to a children's storytelling platform she promoted collapsed. Meghan's digital footprint involving her children began to vanish. Spotify removed archival mentions. Netflix scrapped thumbnails for the docu-series Raising Royal Hearts. Royal sources confirm the monarchy invoked the Digital Identity Protection Act under international child welfare protocols. And Prince Harry? Multiple sources say he was blindsided. His request to retain temporary custody was rejected due to unresolved travel restrictions, US residency complications, and lack of formal income. Prince Edward, the monarchy's discreet enforcer, delivered the final blow, a confidential letter hand-delivered to Harry stating custody, guardianship, and protection of Windsor children now fall solely under Crown protocol. The letter contained no emotional language, only constitutional finality. Meanwhile, Catherine, Princess of Wales, now chief guardian of Lilette's emotional support plan, adjusted her schedule to include weekly sessions with a royal-approved therapist specialising in transatlantic identity trauma. A trusted nanny from Wales has been reassigned to Lilette's day-to-day care, while George and Charlotte have been actively encouraged to include her in Windsor activities. One of the most poignant moments of the saga came when a single photo showed Lilette holding Charlotte's hand while leaving Windsor Chapel, a silent testament to the future walking together. As of February 3rd, Meghan remains unreachable. Her team issued only a vague statement citing privacy, but silence in this instance speaks louder than any press release. The courtroom fell into stunned silence on February 1st, 2026, as the judge delivered a landmark ruling officially stripping Meghan Markle of any residual custodial influence over Archie and Lilette. Meghan, notably absent from the hearing, had chosen to withdraw from participation entirely. Her legal team offered a statement, but the silence she left behind roared louder than any defense in a swift series of directives. Following the verdict, Princess Anne acted decisively. All formal influence Meghan Markle may claim over Windsor children is hereby void. During a rare live address at St James's Palace, the Crown delivered a declaration that reverberated through every royal and Hollywood channel alike. Meghan Markle no longer holds any maternal privileges over Archie and Lilette. The well-being of these children must reflect the highest royal standards, not Hollywood ambitions. The ruling triggered a cascade of immediate, unprecedented institutional actions. First, the highly publicised £8 million trust that Meghan had allegedly established to fund the children's international opportunities and independence was frozen and quietly dismantled. A senior palace accountant confirmed to The Times that none of the funds had been secured through royal channels, and none were protected under sovereign asset guidelines. Second, every brand and licensing deal using Archie and Lilette's names, ranging from cartoon development contracts to luxury fashion endorsements, was declared null and void. Insiders were blunt. The children were being commodified, and under the Windsor Accords, this was a line that could never be crossed. Then came the most drastic move yet. By formal order of Prince William, under a sovereign guardianship directive last exercised during the 1936 abdication crisis, both children's UK passports were locked under royal security custody. They are legally prohibited from leaving the United Kingdom until age 16 unless escorted by a Crown-approved guardian. Sources confirm it was William himself who invoked this nearly century-old Edwardian protocol, drafted by Queen Mary. The sealed mechanism grants the heir to the throne temporary guardianship over royal minors in times of familial instability. Until last week, this procedure remained classified. Meanwhile, Princess Catherine assumed a role no royal consort has held since the post-war era. She now personally oversees Lilette's emotional and educational well-being. The young princess remains at a private Surrey estate under tight supervision. According to an anonymous royal nanny, Lilette is doing far better than expected and has developed a deep trust in Catherine. Across the Atlantic, Meghan's career took a devastating blow. Netflix froze all pending negotiations. Spotify removed all references to the children from archived podcasts. Talent agents and executives began quietly distancing themselves. Rumours spread like wildfire. In Beverly Hills, Meghan was now classified as a Class 1 liability. Prince Harry, insiders report, is experiencing a psychological breakdown in Montecito, separated from Meghan. He has begged William for private time with the children, but only without Meghan present, one source revealed. Harry knows this may be his final chance for direct influence over Archie and Lilette, and the pressure weighs heavily. The haunting question for palace officials in London and California alike is simple. Why did Meghan erase all traces of her children from her media empire just days before the hearing? What confidential evidence had William submitted to the Privy Council? And why were top Hollywood executives now labelling Meghan a blacklisted risk with no leverage left? At 10 a.m., the Royal Household Child Welfare Committee's chamber clock ticked as Princess Anne rose to deliver her second briefing in less than 48 hours. But this time, the room wasn't just filled with press. The courtroom was packed with UK High Court judges, child welfare officers, and 2 senior Privy Councillors summoned under emergency protocol. Anne's tone was clinical and unwavering. We are no longer speaking in hypotheticals. Archie Harrison and Lilette Diana have been placed in emotional jeopardy through the conscious disengagement of their mother, Miss Meghan Markle. Her actions constitute a breach of the Windsor Accord Custodial Monitoring Protocol. Across the Atlantic, the statement hit like a thunderclap. Meghan had been photographed aboard a luxury yacht in Doha, sipping champagne beside a Middle Eastern media tycoon. To the public, it was freedom, luxury, and power. But to the royal household, it was abandonment dressed in haute couture, a stark violation of their duty to protect royal minors. Meghan had failed to respond to 3 urgent notices regarding her children's health, schooling, and psychological development. One notice flagged Archie's silent withdrawal from classroom engagement. Another outlined Lilette's prolonged night terrors and disturbing drawings. Meghan provided no acknowledgement, digital or written, despite the gravity of these concerns. When Prince William addressed the committee, his fury was precise, surgical. We are no longer discussing reputational damage. We are confronting a deeper rot. Children born into the Windsor lineage deserve better than to be leveraged for brand equity, only to be discarded when inconvenient. He then presented a sealed affidavit authored by a former Sussex staffer. The affidavit included Meghan's internal comment just before her sudden withdrawal from parental responsibilities. Let the Crown raise them. I have an empire to rebuild. This single sentence became an emotional detonator for the committee. Prince Edward reportedly told close aides, "I've never seen William this livid, not even after the Netflix ambush. This isn't about reputation. This is about George, Charlotte, Louis, and the future of Archie and Lilette. He's drawing a line." Meghan's legal team remained silent. Their cold, technical statement dismissed the UK's interpretation of custodial negligence as non-binding under Californian law. But this was a miscalculation. Princess Anne immediately coordinated with the Foreign Office to activate a bilateral family protection clause embedded in the post-Brexit Windsor Convention. Rarely invoked, the clause allows protective guardianship to be issued without parental consent if a British royal child faces demonstrable risk abroad. On February 3, 2026, the clause was signed in triplicate by King Charles III, Prince William, and Princess Anne, taking effect immediately. The British Crown had now assumed primary custodial guardianship over Archie and Lilette, bypassing Meghan Markle's parental authority entirely. The final step came in the form of a private jet, chartered by the UK Foreign Office and quietly landing at Santa Barbara Airport under the codename Operation Dandelion. The flight manifest included 2 child welfare officers, a royal legal envoy, and a paediatric trauma specialist. Their mission? Ensure legal compliance and begin a careful extraction process if necessary. Meanwhile, Meghan's inner circle was crumbling. Tyler Perry, long considered her protector, demanded answers in a voicemail later leaked to London. "Why didn't you tell me about the palace notices?" Oprah reportedly distanced herself, furious that her name had been tied to the unfolding drama. Spotify insiders revealed that Meghan's 2026 podcast, once pitched as a redemption arc, was quietly shelved after early focus groups described her tone as disingenuous and intellectually disengaged. Yet the children were not invisible. A new photograph released quietly by Kensington Palace showed Prince Louis and Princess Charlotte sitting with Lilette in Windsor's enclosed rose garden. The caption read simply, "Family endures." It wasn't flashy. It was precise, surgical, and symbolic. The palace had made its message clear. Meghan had tried to flee the crown, but the monarchy followed not with threats or drama, but with law, guardianship, and lineage. A final question lingered. Would Harry defy the royal family once more, or finally stand with his children? Meanwhile, global headlines were saturated with Meghan and Harry's public downfall. But inside Kensington Palace, another narrative quietly unfolded, one of dignity, intergenerational legacy, and symbolic reassertion of royal continuity. As Meghan's legal team scrambled in Los Angeles to salvage her brand, Princess Charlotte emerged in a defining, unscripted moment. A surprise photo, released by Palace Communications, showed Princess Charlotte standing alongside Princess Anne and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, at the Royal Archives wing in Windsor. Charlotte gently held an aged, ivory-handled letter opener said to have belonged to Queen Elizabeth II during her early reign. Behind them, a portrait of Elizabeth as a young woman gazed outward with intensity, a silent message of resolve. The timing was no accident. That same morning, Meghan's attempt to claim heritage compensation tied to Princess Diana's legacy was formally rejected by a royal advisory committee, chaired by Princess Anne herself. The ruling explicitly stated, "No individual may leverage the institutional memory of Diana, Princess of Wales, for commercial restitution without express authorization from the sovereign. Such claims may not be derived from marriage alone." The blow was clean, precise, and devastating. Meghan was blindsided, having expected at least a soft compromise from King Charles. Sources confirmed, however, that the king fully supported Anne's ruling, citing a confidential 2020 memorandum prepared by Queen Elizabeth II outlining protections against unauthorized legacy claims. The image of Charlotte gained instant viral traction. Royal watchers noted the historic significance. Charlotte was publicly associated with royal duty for the first time, flanked by Anne, Elizabeth's most trusted enforcer, and Sophie, the palace's quiet, strategic mind. The three women formed a generational triangle, one who preserved the crown through crisis, one who reinforced it with modern discipline, and one gently being prepared to protect it anew. A palace source told The Times, "Princess Charlotte will not grow up watching the monarchy be dismantled by opportunism." February 1st, 2026, Windsor Castle. A week after the explosive confirmation of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's separation, the royal narrative shifted in subtle but unmistakable ways. Princess Catherine and her daughter, Princess Charlotte, quietly emerged at a children's charity awards ceremony, unannounced, unguarded by pomp, but impossible to ignore. This was no staged appearance. Every detail carried symbolic weight, a deliberate message about legacy, responsibility, and the protection of royal minors. Earlier that day, Catherine, still recovering from a recent medical procedure, appeared briefly with Charlotte on a palace balcony. Dressed in a soft navy coat, adorned with the late Queen's sapphire brooch, Catherine placed one hand gently on Charlotte's shoulder, then stepped back, allowing her daughter to receive a small floral tribute from a child attending the ceremony. 15 seconds. That was all it took. But the world understood. Every eye, every camera, every journalist present felt the gravity of a moment where royal duty met emotional mentorship. Meanwhile, Meghan's legal team filed a revised petition in the California Superior Court, seeking increased allowances for transitional lifestyle protections. They cited unprecedented psychological pressures linked to royal abandonment. But by that afternoon, the British public had already made up its mind. The Sussex separation was no longer a royal tragedy, it was a royal resolution. Online forums, morning television segments, and UK tabloids buzzed with analysis. Meghan was still negotiating for optics. The royal family was investing in permanence. Public sentiment shifted further when Lord Alistair Pembroke, president of the Privy Council, issued a concise addendum on February 2nd. It clarified that all current Royal Trust transfers, including educational protections for Archie and Lilette, would now fall under a guardian restructure clause, with Princess Catherine, Princess Anne, and Prince Edward listed as formal trustees. Observers called it a full institutional shift away from the Sussex line, an unmistakable recalibration of custodial responsibility. The Crown's goal was not punishment, it was correction. Harry reportedly refused to appear at a veterans symposium in Arizona, citing unresolved legal trauma. Meghan, meanwhile, was spotted filming promotional content for a rumoured solo lifestyle series titled Reclaiming Grace, a move ridiculed by British media as a desperate bid for aesthetic redemption. Yet, as the sun set over Windsor on February 2nd, the message was clear. The monarchy's future now rested on three principles: responsibility, stewardship, and legacy. And that future had a face. It was the young girl in Windsor, holding an ivory-handled letter opener, guided by women who understood the true cost of survival. Princess Charlotte, carrying a small journal with hope embroidered in gold, briefly stepped forward during the press line. In an unmistakably firm tone, she declared, "We are not currency. We are not stories for sale." The statement stunned the media. In recent memory, no royal child had spoken with such clarity, authority, and public impact. Palace aides, visibly shaken but instructed not to intervene, later confirmed that Catherine had approved Charlotte's words. This quiet but devastating assertion marked Catherine's clearest stand yet against the weaponization of Archie and Lilette. For years, the Wales family had resisted public responses to Meghan's emotional appeals, but the line had been crossed, and Charlotte's voice was the response. Within hours, a senior royal source confirmed that Catherine had drafted a private memorandum circulating among constitutional advisers and child welfare committees, titled The Safeguarding Doctrine. The document embeds firm protections for royal minors, citing Queen Elizabeth II's custodial precedent, and introducing new safeguards against AI misuse, digital cloning, unauthorized image monetization, and psychological commodification of identity. Directly lifted from Meghan's leaked lifestyle media launch pitch deck, the doctrine highlighted just how dangerously close her plans had skirted the line. Meanwhile, Meghan's inner circle in California scrambled to regain control. A tone-deaf Instagram story appeared, claiming she had always believed in empowering children's voices, paired with a photo of Archie baking cookies. The timing was catastrophic. The palace responded swiftly. Empowerment is not manipulation. Protection is not obstruction. Silence is not absence. Rumours had swirled that Meghan had attempted to enroll Archie in a talent agency for a branded children's cooking segment, internally dubbed Sussex Kitchen, backed by a Qatari sponsor. The project had already triggered alarms within the UK Broadcast Ethics Council and the royal household's recent restructuring. Prince Edward, granted oversight powers, initiated legal reviews into overseas image use for royal minors. Leaked Sussex Foundation documents revealed a full marketing plan, including wardrobe sponsors, school appearances, and social media rollout windows for Lilette. Princess Anne's response was characteristically blunt. "There is no brand rollout for children. There is no press calendar for dignity. I won't allow it." Within hours, the Palace Child Welfare Committee voted, with Anne, William, and Sophie approving emergency provisions. Prince William now holds temporary joint oversight of Archie and Lilette's privacy management until California courts resolve the parents' custody status. The monarchy invoked the non-consensual image clause under the 2023 Royal Privacy Act, effectively banning Meghan from using her children in any monetized or promotional content, even indirectly. Hollywood reacted defensively. One anonymous executive claimed Meghan was being scapegoated because the monarchy was winning the digital war. Brands began withdrawing deals, fragrance launches were paused, and tech partners shelved AI content projects citing reputational risk. Meanwhile, Princess Charlotte's short statement circulated globally, translated into 22 languages in under 48 hours. Catherine instructed staff to let it breathe, and it did. Across the UK, thousands of children wrote letters to the palace, sending handmade messages of hope. A viral clip from Manchester showed a little girl holding up her card, declaring, "Charlotte is braver than any grown-up." For Meghan, this was a crushing reversal. Once celebrated as a modern mother and feminist icon, she was now perceived, fairly or not, as someone who commodified her children while undermining the institution that protected them. For Catherine, the vindication came not from revenge, but through restraint and strategic precision, letting her daughter's voice carry the weight. Yet the battle was far from over. Meghan had scheduled an exclusive primetime interview with an American talk show host on February 5th, her first since the separation announcement. Questions lingered. What would she say? Would Harry join? And would the monarchy move to fully assert custodial authority before any narrative could shift again? On February 2nd, 2026, the final royal bulletin arrived at 9:06 p.m. GMT. Sealed with the insignia of the Lord Chancellor's Court and co-signed by the royal household, it read one line: "The Crown has resolved custodial dominion under royal guardianship protocols." With that, all legal and parental rights Meghan Markle once wielded over Archie and Lilette were formally terminated. Princess Catherine was granted full supervisory influence over the children's emotional and moral development, coordinating with the Royal Child Welfare Council. The young royals will remain in the UK under constitutional care until age 16. Meghan's £8 million trust was legally voided, her entertainment licensing deals frozen, and Hollywood moved to distance her completely. The Markle era had reached its final breath. Like, comment, and subscribe to follow this ongoing saga and witness how Windsor's legacy continues to protect its next generation.